The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Live Review. I am obviously not Sean Garmer. I am Paul Leazar.
It's a ghost! Get away from me, spirit!
That's Harry Broadhurst, obviously. So nothing new there. I'm filling in for Sean, though. Sean had to go to the hospital. He had a case of appendicitis. He had his appendix removed today, and all that fun stuff. So obviously, best wishes to Sean, and he sounded terrible on the phone when I talked to him yesterday. So glad he's feeling much, much better. And no need to worry out there if you're worried about him. He's just fine. So, Harry, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Kind of telling when your own appendix doesn't want to be friends with you anymore, though. Yikes.
There were a lot of posts on the W2M page about people wondering if Raw was really that bad that he had to make this up to get out of it.
Well, it wasn't Raw, though. You and Gary do Raw. SmackDown's the one he's trying... Maybe he was just trying to avoid me, and frankly, I can't say that I blame him. In all seriousness, I kid, I jest, but I do wish Sean a speedy recovery, and we hope to have him back for Sunday night.
Absolutely. Especially Thursday night, too, because we're doing all the previews on that episode of W2M, so be back sooner, Sean, but obviously no rush.
Well, some of us have already done our Summerslam previews.
Well, some of us like to wait to the last minute, Harry.
It is the W2M way.
It is true. That is true. So we got a SmackDown to run down here, and they open this week with Jinder Mahal having another big celebration because it's Independence Day for India, which is great. He's out here celebrating. They got all the dancers and all the colors and everything back again, and I thought this was really cool the first time around. I still thought this was kind of cool, and Jinder does the, really, I think what's become the typical Jinder promo, right? He calls everybody xenophobes, we're all racists, we're all these things, and basically he's going to keep on winning for his people. This brings out Nakamura, who is looking forward to being the one to take the championship off of Jinder. I thought this was fine, right? I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it's nothing, too terrible, right?
Apparently in 2017, dancers equal pyro.
Yes.
Because they won't spring for a pyro budget, but they will hire dancers out the yin-yang to get an angle over. No, in all seriousness, it's nothing we haven't seen from Mahal before, but at the same time, it does make his character stand out as unique and different. And at the same time, while I'm nervous about what could come on Sunday between Mahal and Nakamura, I think that it'll be interesting regardless of what does happen. It's one of those things where you're going in knowing it's going to be a Styles clash, and the question is going to be either this is really, really good or this is a damn train wreck.
Mm-hmm. I'm leaning towards Trainwreck, but I'm hoping Shinsuke is going to bring it because, I mean, really, in all likelihood, it seems at least kind of obvious that he's going to be the one walking away with the championship when the show ends on Sunday. So hopefully that brings Big Match in and he can pull something good out of Jinder, but there's obviously, when it comes to Jinder now, it's shenanigans with the sings and everything else, and I guess we'll have to wait and see for sure, but I don't have a lot of hopes.
I mean, I get the whole shenanigans with the Sings thing. I stand by the statement I made when me and Sean were talking about it last week. Yeah, it was a lot of smoke and mirrors with the Singh brothers, but I actually enjoyed the Orton matches. I thought they were way better than what I thought they were going to be.
I didn't so much mind the first one. The other two, however, I could have done without.
Okay. Punjabi prison excluded.
Okay, I think that might be a lot fairer to say than enjoying all of them, because that was a train wreck in the worst way.
Yeah, the title change and then the rematch on Father's Day in St. Louis, I actually enjoyed.
Yeah,
the Punjabi prison match was hot garbage, and, well, frankly, we all expected hot garbage going in, so none of us should be surprised.
Yeah, that's very, very true, and I'll give you the first two, and more so, I didn't mind the first one. The second one, however, is, more the same, honestly. I don't really see the point of it, but the point of tonight was Jinder's going to face John Cena. Cena, of course, has been feuding with Baron Corbin, and during the main event, after really a lackluster match, if you ask me, about 10 minutes or so, Corbin runs in after Cena hits a super AA. Looks like he's about to beat the champ. Baron Corbin attacks him. Jinder's all laid out afterwards, though. So Corbin cashes in, shockingly, if you ask me, and Mahal struggles to get up. Baron Corbin, I very much telegraphs this because the camera zooms way too close to his face, and he's continuously looking back at John, waiting for him to stand up. He finally does. Baron turns around, hits him with a forearm. This allows Jinder to come in, get the roll-up, and get the 1-2-3, and succeed in retaining against a cash-in, which is only the third failed one, if I remember correctly. So, big stuff happening here at the end. I think Cena's kind of an idiot, because why wouldn't you want Corbin to win so you could beat him for your 16th title, which feels like that's been your entire drive the entire time here on SmackDown. 17, excuse me. And, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's not like Corbin really should have won the championship, I guess, but it's silly for John to be the one to cost him.
Well, so Tony, Robert, and I did our predictions for SummerSlam last night on the reaction. And I actually predicted that Corbin was cashing in on Sunday and failing. So while I'm not surprised that Corbin was not successful, I am a little bit surprised that they pulled the trigger on an episode of SmackDown, and I'm going to be curious to see if the ratings will reflect their decision here and if it'll generate more interest in either SmackDown itself for next week or if it'll help increase the post-SummerSlam boost for the ratings for SmackDown and the Nielsen's.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair, right? I know SmackDown hasn't been doing terribly well as far as ratings go since Jinder won the championship, except for one or two episodes where people were sort of checking in to see just what the heck was going on. But at the end of the day, I really don't know if I have a giant problem with this. I just find it sort of lacking in the logic department as far as writing goes. I would have been much more okay if it was the Singh brothers running out to try to make the save and distract Baron, and that's what ends up doing it. But I understand they want heat on SummerSlam for this match because honestly, I think a lot of people are struggling to care about it. So,
well, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was so hastily thrown together as well. Yeah. They have Corbin come out and attack Nakamura after his match with Cena, after Nakamura's match with Cena, and then Cena makes the save for Nakamura by putting Corbin through an announce table, and all of a sudden, bingo, bango, bongo, it's a match at SummerSlam. Like, really? Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah. Wish I could tell you. Another one we don't know where it came from either is Rusev's match with Randy Orton. Rusev has a match with Chad Gable. They go to a double countout, and Rusev tosses Chad straight over a freaking announce table. It's pretty cool. I think these two could have had a great match, but that wasn't the point here. Rusev grabs the microphone to call out Randy. As soon as he says Orton, here comes Randy with the RKO out of nowhere. And, boy, I really could give a shit, right? I don't care.
Well, we're going to disagree here because I'm actually interested in this match. And the reason I'm interested in this match is because there is a small little part of me that has hope that since Orton stood tall tonight, that they might actually put Rusev over on Sunday and start to move him towards the upper mid-card / main event scene on SmackDown, which I think is long overdue. As far as this match goes, you mentioned the fact that you thought that Rusev and Gable could have a really good match. They actually did have a really good match a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown. This was a return match from that. And tonight, Chad Gable took what I like to call the Dolph Ziggler bump with the announce table.
Yes, he sure as heck did. And then their match a couple of weeks ago was fine. I was just, expecting another great match here, and
I think.
Good.
I think it's going to be a case of the evolution of Chad Gable. Once Gable gets into that spot where he's taken more seriously as a singles wrestler on SmackDown, he's going to be constantly delivering good matches night in, night out, because I think he's a guy that's going to carry the Blue brand for a while once they finally get behind him. They're just not behind him right now because they have other things to focus on due to SummerSlam being Sunday.
And that is a very fair and very true point. I'm right there with you. Chad's sort of waiting in the background, but they have got him on TV every week so far since the split with Jason Jordan, which I don't think is something we can sell short because there's so many other people who aren't getting on TV, like Ty Dillinger every week. So
Sami
Zayn as well. Admittedly, the program with the Canalises I don't think was doing him a lot of favors anyways, but here we are, right? And go ahead.
I might be in the minority here. I actually really like Mike Kanellis. I'm a fan of his work. I think he's one of those old school kind of heels that doesn't give a shit what you think about his work rate. He's going out there to piss you off, and that's his job. And the schmoz of the gimmick is just fantastic to me because it's not something that you really see in this day and age.
I don't mind the talking part of the Canellis' gimmick. I mind the working part of the Canellis' gimmick because when the stake is something that you're really counting on to be something worthwhile, it usually isn't with Mr. Mike Bennett. So, I don't know. We'll have to agree to disagree on that one because I like him as a tag team wrestler. I loved his work with Matt Taven for sure, but just singles-wise, he leaves a lot to be desired for me.
All right, back to Rusev and Orton real quick here. So, after a couple of blatantly, obviously telegraphed RKOs previously here, RKOs that definitely came out of somewhere, your thoughts on this particular RKO?
This is one time where I thought the camera crew actually did a good job because they're zoomed straight in on Rusev. You get a big close-up of his face pretty much, and then suddenly Randy has come in from behind and just absolutely murdered him. And live, I think it was really, really cool. Just to see that happen. And of course, they replayed it 1,000 times because anytime they get a good RKO, they have to show you 12 different angles. And, nothing really topped the one of the close-up, if you ask me. But I thought this was good.
The only other RKO in recent memory that stood out as well executed as this one to me was the one to Mahal during the course of Mahal's celebration. I don't know if you remember it. The one where he came from behind Mahal while Mahal was standing on the carpet and laid him out before the Father's Day rematch, I believe it was.
I do remember that.
That was another really good one. But a lot of the quote-unquote RKOs out of nowhere lately have definitely not been out of nowhere. This is one of the ones that actually fit that RKO out of nowhere vibe to me.
Completely agree with you on that front, for sure. And while I do hope Rusev wins, Randy has just thrown every shred of any care I've ever had for him down the toilet since really the beginning of the year, just because he looks back to being that unmotivated Orton again, and God, I hate that. I hate that so much, especially when there's so many guys who could really use a great feud with him here on the Blue brand.
Well, I think the best way to describe that here is when he's good, he's great. When he's bad, he's the shit.
Yeah. I think you're right on the money there for sure.
Almost to a Nakamura level. When he's motivated, he can put on really great performances. When he's not motivated, you get matches like Nakamura Corbin from the pay-per-view.
Yeah, for sure.
Or Orton and Mahal in the Punjabi prison.
I don't think either of them gave a shit about that, and they had no help with that gimmick either. So, earlier on, Natalya takes on Becky Lynch. Naomi's at ringside for commentary to scout Natalya for the match. I thought this was a pretty solid match here with Becky Lynch. Natty ends up getting the win with a sharpshooter, and afterwards, Natalya goes to lock it back in on Becky. Naomi ain't standing for that. She runs in to make the save. Carmella comes out to let everybody know she still has the briefcase and is looking forward to them beating the crap out of each other, essentially. So, do you think Carmella cashes in? And, yeah.
Sunday at SummerSlam? No. I think they're making it. I think they're teasing it too much for it to actually happen, and especially with the cashing in of the case tonight. I don't think they blow through both briefcases within the span of 5 days.
There used to be a lot of talk, at least, of Naomi and Carmella getting a big feud, either going into SummerSlam or after SummerSlam, and the cash-in, at least, I would say it looks likely at SummerSlam. I don't know if they're going to do it just because, like you said, they did this surprise cash-in here on SmackDown. I don't know if they're going to want to blow both so soon, and maybe they want to save it for another big moment on SmackDown on TV too, but who knows?
Well, I think another consideration too is, I'm sure you've heard the rumors about the 4 Horsewomen.
Yes.
I would imagine if they're going to do something like that, they're going to need some of the SmackDown women's talent for that 4 Horsewomen of the WWE match for Survivor Series, as I understand, is the plan, the rumored stipulation there. Mm-hmm. So that would be to me, that would be the idealistic place to do Naomi and Carmella for the women's title.
And that makes a lot of sense, right? They're still trying to make Survivor Series count for something after having it count for pretty much nothing for a very long time. So,
let's not forget, there was one year recently, and I forget the exact year, and I'm sure one of our listeners will be able to inform us. And if you happen to know, then by all means, feel free to tell us over on the Facebook group at Wrestling to the Max on Facebook. One of the most recent Survivor Series didn't even have a Survivor Series tag team match on it.
Yeah. I want to say it was like 2015? I don't know.
14 or 15, one of them.
One of the two, yeah, for sure.
May have been 14. May have been 14 because of the redo of the Deadly Game tournament with the semifinals and the finals of the title tournament.
Yeah, that might have been it too. I don't like Survivor Series has been nothing for so long. It's hard for it to stick out in my mind anymore these days. But
agreed.
I'm looking forward to that Natty Naomi match personally. They've had good matches in the past before, and I think when both of them are looking to sort of put on a performance on the big stage to make everybody sort of pay attention to them, I think they're going to accomplish that goal.
I love me some Natalya. I'm indifferent towards Naomi. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I frankly don't trust her in the spot that she's in because she's too injury prone, in my opinion. But I love me some Natalya, so to see her get a spotlight at a Big Four pay-per-view kind of warms the cockles of my heart a little.
I agree. Natalya's been a fan favorite, or a favorite of mine for a while too. Not as much, I think, to your fandom, but I've always enjoyed her work and thought she always deserved a fairer shake than what she's gotten. And
something about those foreign chicks on the main roster: Natty, Emma, Rar.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
I mean, Becky to an extent too.
I love Becky Lynch personally, but she might. I'm pretty sure she's my favorite female on the roster right now.
Not Tamina. No Tamina.
Well, speaking of Tamina, she's got words for Lana.
Segue.
Yeah. She wants to know why she doesn't have a match tonight, and this has seemingly moved from Tamina maybe being Lana's bodyguard to Lana being Tamina's manager because Lana spells out the plan for her. You're going to follow her lead. She's going to create opportunities doing it, basically the only way she knows how. And by the end of it, everybody's going to fear Tamina. She'll be a destructive force, and she will crush everybody. So, I don't know where I stand on this. Tamina hasn't proven to be, I think, what she could have been when she showed flashes of brilliance during that feud with Beth Phoenix back in 2011. But kind of interesting. I'm interested in what Lana's doing almost every week on SmackDown just because she got thrown into a position I don't think anybody knew if she was going to succeed or not, and she kind of has to a degree.
I thought the first match against Naomi at Money in the Bank was actually really entertaining. Mm-hmm. The subsequent SmackDown matches were what they were due to time constraints, but the SmackDown women's title match at Money in the Bank, in my opinion, was one of the better SmackDown women's title matches in the division since Naomi's had the title. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that had to do with the sheer surprise factor of Lana not sucking.
Right.
That being said, I have no hopes for Tamina in the title picture or in a general reoccurring wrestling appearance on SmackDown either. I have zero interest in her as a performer right now. I think she's past her expiration date. I think that they're desperate for women for SmackDown, and I believe that one of the things that's going to end up happening is SmackDown's women division is going to get a bit of a refresher after this Sunday at SummerSlam, and specifically this Saturday night at NXT TakeOver, because I feel like there's going to be a new Queen Bee on SmackDown very soon. And you could say she's something of an empress.
You could say that. There's a lot of dynasty talk going around here on the Blue Brand, and there is somebody down there on NXT who has created a dynasty already. And I mean, well, I think you put Asuka on SmackDown. One, people are going to watch for sure just because she's so different from everybody, especially here on SmackDown Live. But I think Asuka and Charlotte, or Asuka Becky Lynch, is just money.
Well, not to mention the other thing, too, in my opinion, is it's either going to be Asuka or they're going to call up the Iconic Duo to SmackDown as well.
I could see that. I mean, good.
I definitely feel like we're going to get some new blood in the SmackDown women's division post SummerSlam.
There was all that talk about another superstar shakeup post SummerSlam. I could certainly say that both shows kind of need it, at least in the mid card.
I think it would be stupid to do it this soon after the first one. I think you do it after Survivor Series. Split them up every 6 to 8 months rather than doing them every 4 months.
WWE, especially if they're worried about SmackDown maybe falling behind too much. Because they don't want it to do so well that it's better than Raw, but they also don't want it to suck so much that they lose the show. So I who knows really anymore. Daniel Bryan meets backstage with the Usos. They want to know which members of the New Day they're going to be facing at SummerSlam because of the big mix-up a couple weeks back, and it's going to be Big E and Xavier Woods. But tonight the Usos want to face Kofi Kingston and Xavier, which Daniel Bryan books, and we get that match. And I thought was pretty enjoyable. The Usos and New Day, I think no matter the configuration, just have great chemistry. And I don't know. I just enjoyed this. I really did.
Not as good as the title change. Not as good as the first match. But that being said, very good for a free SmackDown TV match, I thought. As you said, the chemistry is clear as day. It's very evident between these 5 individuals. They work very well together. They're doing their best to keep the SmackDown Tag Team division relevant, which is, frankly, more than we can say for Raw most weeks since the champions have been somewhat non-existent over the course of the last couple of months due to Sheamus' movie filming. But I believe that the New Day, and especially the Usos, who have shined since going to SmackDown, I feel like it's definitely been a step up for the SmackDown Tag Team division to have these 5 gentlemen interacting with each other. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they get to provide to us on Sunday at SummerSlam. I'm curious as to how much time they're going to get due to the fact that it's a 12-match card. But at the same time, it is an extended pay-per-view for SummerSlam as well at 4 hours. So I feel like they should get some decent time.
I agree with you entirely. And it's a feud, I think, that deserves it, right? It's continuously been entertaining to me, for sure. I've really just enjoyed the promos and their interactions and everything they've really done since this kick started. So if they get 15 minutes to 20, I think, you could be in for really some. I mean, 20 is probably asking too much, but I don't think 15 is really too far out of the neighborhood,
Agreed.
After that, we get the Fashion Peaks finale for Fandango and Breeze, and all the great puns are there on the board again. Especially whenever they're trying to figure out some imposters and whatnot, and basically they've solved the mystery of who murdered the horse, which of course was Arn Anderson. Fandango, however, has been probed by aliens, and he's got this
probed.
Mentally, of course, yes, not physically, because can't do that on PG TV, I guess. But Fandango has a space rock with him. He throws it. It's supposed to help him tell the future. The Ascension, however, show up, returning the pie they got last week, and Fandango starts finding all these things wrong with it, like there's hair in it, and a used Band-Aid, and gluten, and Victor loses his mind because the Ascension are on a gluten-free diet. And him getting dragged away, I think, was the funniest part, just because he says gluten is the root of all evil in this world, pretty much. And then they discover a note that says "to be."
The Fashion Files have done something that I never thought the main roster would be able to do. They're making me care about the Ascension, and I don't know how the hell that happened.
I think you're caring about the Ascension in maybe a way I just think people never expected, right? They were murderers, basically, on NXT. They get brought up to try to do that on Raw, and it gets turned into a complete joke. And now they're showing they have range, right? They can be funny, and that really works.
Yeah, who would have thought these big thugs have personalities as well? As far as the Fashion Peaks thing goes, I told Sean this. I'll tell you the same thing I told Sean. I don't watch Twin Peaks. The references are lost on me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm still enjoyed by the sheer over-the-topness with which Breeze and Fandango handle these particular segments. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to be next. Frankly, I would be all for some Murder, She Wrote. I feel like Tyler Breeze dressed up as Angela Lansbury would be money.
It feels like X-Files is up next, honestly, once again.
But we've already done X-Files. I want something new.
It just feels like, with the alien probing and all that, it just feels like X-Files again. But you never know. I would be okay with really anything. So, I mean, the intrigue's still there. The mystery's left unsolved. They'll be back in 2 weeks. So,
real quick, though, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Arn Anderson reveal, because I thought it was hilarious that he was pissed off that they named the horse Tully. Everybody knows I was the one who carried that team.
Yeah.
I could not stop laughing when Arn said that.
I loved it just because it was as silly as everything they've done so far, and it really fit right into the insane wackiness they've brought to SmackDown every week since they started doing this. Last but not least here, we have AJ Styles having to make an apology to Shane McMahon for accidentally hitting him last week. He brings Shane out. He goes to apologize, says Shane, however, tells Styles there's nothing to apologize for. It was an accident. I understood that. There's no reason to do so. This brings out Kevin Owens eventually, who is rather upset that they're just sort of shaking this off whenever he's trying to paint it that Shane and AJ still have beef with each other, and that AJ kind of did it on purpose. He wants to shake Shane's hand and sort of tries to make a deal with him almost, but he refuses and asks him to shake AJ's hand. They instead get into a shoving contest, a little bit of a brawl that Shane tries to break up. He ends up dodging a punch from AJ and grabbing his fist and won't let go as they have some words. Kevin Owens sneaks around behind and goes to super kick AJ from behind. AJ moves, though, and Shane eats it full in the face. And Owens is extremely upset because this plan has just gone total tits up. And Shane and AJ have some more words while all this goes down. So I've really enjoyed this, honestly. Shane can't seem to stop getting in people's way, and it's clearly going to lead to something with Kevin Owens down the road, it feels like, but I'm looking forward to this match at SummerSlam. I really am. I'm still waiting for these guys to have that great match without having any of the shenanigans to really weigh it down, you know?
Sean had a theory last week on the show, and I want to get your opinion on it before I give my thoughts on this segment. Sean's theory is that it's going to lead to Shane screwing AJ on Sunday and giving the title to Kevin Owens, kind of as Shane's chosen guy to run the SmackDown brand. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I don't know. That would be very, very odd to me, because it seems like Shane and AJ have been pretty simpatico, at least since WrestleMania, and all that's become water under the bridge for the most part. To me, I feel like the accidents are just going to keep on happening, and Shane is either going to accidentally get in Kevin Owens' way to cost him the championship, or AJ will just straight up beat him, and Kevin is going to blame Shane for playing favorites. I feel like that's where it's going. They wouldn't have done all this stuff with Kevin in the earlier weeks, interacting with Shane such as he has, unless there was an end game between those two in mind, I think.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the money here is Kevin Owens blowing a complete gasket on Shane McMahon. I don't think there's any question to that in my mind. But I wanted to get your opinion on what Sean said last week here. As far as this particular segment went, maybe I'm just a little bit spoiled when it comes to SmackDown here. But I'm used to SmackDown being the wrestling show, and this is like 3 straight weeks now, or 2 straight weeks, excuse me, because they had the return match 3 weeks ago. This is 2 straight weeks now that we haven't seen AJ Styles or Kevin Owens in in-ring competition, and I feel kind of deprived as a SmackDown viewer not getting to see them in the ring. The segments are entertaining, don't get me wrong. They're enjoyable, but at the same time, I feel like when I'm watching SmackDown, those are 2 guys I'm watching to see wrestle, not have 10-minute talking segments.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it sounds valid to me, right? But I think when you're trying to build up, when this is essentially a show to build up to something else that is going to happen later on down the road now, after seemingly Kevin Owens and AJ have had all the interaction they're going to have just between them two without bringing in outside forces anymore, I feel like the way they're going about building this is fine with me, honestly. As much as I love watching these two work in the ring, the interactions and the talky bits between them, who honestly AJ has improved so much, I think, since his TNA days for sure, and Kevin Owens is just money on the microphone, so I'm always just as happy to see him just talking as opposed to, talking and wrestling or just wrestling.
Oh no, I'm not gonna deny that it's like a night and day difference between where AJ Styles was when he was in TNA, even his later days in TNA, to where he is on the microphone now. He's a lot more comfortable on the microphone now, and I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, like I said, SmackDown's usually the wrestling show to me, and tonight it did not feel like the wrestling show to me. But I think a lot of that might have to do with the fact that it was the go home for SummerSlam as well.
Yeah, they got to build up their side of the card still too, and with Raw having that powerhouse main event for them, I felt like they did a pretty alright job here tonight, and we'll just go ahead and take this all the way to the end where we're going to put a number on this thing and rate it. And it felt very, it felt like a go-home, right? And that's not a good or a bad thing, but usually go-homes are kind of mediocre because they're building up last little bits and not really so focused on presenting to you something out of this world as far as a wrestling or a segment goes, at least these days. So I think a 5 for this episode of SmackDown seems fair to me.
I'm a little bit higher. I would give it a 6, but I agree with you in the fact that by go-home standards, it was kind of what it was, because traditionally speaking, with the go-home episodes of these particular TV shows, you don't expect much in the way of in-ring action. Mm-hmm. But I think there was enough good in-ring content this week between the tag team match as well as I thought Mahal and Cena was actually okay. I was entertained by it. I mean, the disqualification finish to the match was foretold a mile away because we hadn't seen Corbin yet to that point. But then you get the shock factor of Corbin trying to cash in the briefcase tonight. So I'm going to go with a 6.
Yeah, I think the tag team interactions and the shocking cash-in are really what you want to watch this show for. And if you're a Randy Orton fan, the RKO is pretty cool to see too. But I think those two things are what you're watching this show for. So, go ahead.
I'm still begging him to hit one out of somewhere one day.
Someday he might. Someday he might. That's going to wrap this up for us here on SmackDown Live. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Sean may or may not be back next week. I don't know how long he's going to be in recovery, but for as long as he needs me to, I'll be here. Harry will be here. Somebody else might be here too, but we'll keep talking SmackDown at you.
Before we get out of here, we got to plug a couple of things.
Plug away, sir.
First of all, obviously, if you're listening to us, you're probably listening on W2Mnet.com or on 401mania.com/wrestling, and we thank you for listening. This won't be the only time this week that myself and Paul are on a podcast together.
That's true.
We have some very busy nights coming up for us this Sunday, sir.
We sure do. I've been plugging this on Monday's stuff for sure, but myself, Harry, and Patrick Ketza, basically, we're going to be covering the bracketology episode for the Mae Young Classic. We're going to be reviewing that throughout the entire run of the tournament, doing basically 2 episodes a week, I think is what we agreed on. And that all starts this Sunday as we talk about the brackets and give you some information about the ladies competing and basically listen to Harry and Patrick bicker like old people and me try to play referee.
And just as importantly, you get to see our predictions for the Mae Young Classic as well, to see just how ass backwards they are going into the tournament itself, starting on the 28th.
Too true. Too true. And then it's from what you and myself and Patrick have talked about, I might be joining you guys to cover SummerSlam. Myself, Sean, and hopefully Sean and Gary will be covering TakeOver this weekend. I don't know if you and Patrick will be doing the same thing.
We will not. I have an RAPW show that night, so unfortunately TakeOver is out of the question for me. I'll be watching it on a delay.
That's totally fair. But you'll have at least Wrestling to the Max portion covering that. We also have a show on Thursday where we're going to preview SummerSlam and TakeOver, as well as review everything we usually do on a Thursday, plus news and all that great stuff.
Quick shout out to my Raw Reaction co-host Robert Taylor for his MMA to the Max podcast here on the W2M network as well. It's blowing up. He just got an interview with soon-to-be UFC fighter Jose Shorty Torres, and he's going to be getting an interview with Eric Anders, who's also going to be coming into the UFC soon as well. So pay attention for that particular episode of MMA to the Max dropping, I would imagine, sometime this weekend.
Yeah, I think he said it was sometime this week, but absolutely, Robert's doing a fantastic job with all that. I've yet to listen to it just because I'm not as big a fan of MMA as I used to be, but it's always great to see somebody else's podcast, especially one affiliated with us, succeed as he's been doing so far. So, and of course, Patrick and Harry got that Wrestling Unwrapped show.
I was going to plug that during the 205 Live review. I usually do one here and then save one for 205 Live.
Well, we'll plug it in both places.
Works for me. I guess I'll talk to you in a couple of minutes. I'm Harry Broadhurst.
I'm Paul Leazar. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys down the road.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.